Once you've lit the cigar, you've moved into the smoke portion of the evaluation. Now the first and probably the most important component of this is the taste of the cigar. How does the cigar taste? Now, for evaluation purposes, it's nice to note whether it tastes good, bad, average, fantastic, but to achieve the real detail that you need in order to make your review useful to other people, it's useful to describe the taste, describe the flavor that you're getting in the cigar. This is why you often see people who review cigars talk about things like they'll compare it to food tastes, and this is probably the most common and most useful way of describing the taste of a cigar. So what you want to do is you want to take note of the cigar taste once you've gotten into the cigar just a little bit. I've gotten about 1 centimeter into the cigar, and so now would be the appropriate time to mark down the tastes that I'm perceiving now. Now it's important to be aware that the taste of the cigar will change or may change throughout the course of smoking the cigar. So be sure to not only visit the taste section once, but revisit that several times throughout the smoke. If the flavor changes dramatically, make a note of that. Mark down where it changed and how it changed. What are you perceiving at this point? These are all very important things because you can truly convey the cigar smoking experience to someone who's reading your review if you make very detailed notes along these lines. The next thing that is often quite useful to note is strength. Now, strength can be measured in two separate ways. The strength of the cigar taste is one way. So if the taste is extremely powerful or if the taste is extremely light, it's useful to mark that down. Another element of strength is the impact that it has on your body chemically. So if you feel like the cigar is hitting you and there's a strong impact to your body, you might want to mark that down in the strength section as well. Now, I've also included a line item on the ICRS called feeling. So if the cigar gives you a particular feeling, for example, if it hits you in the belly, if you can feel the impact of the cigar in your belly, you should mark it down there. If it gives you any other sort of feeling, this would be the place to mark it down. This is essentially getting to the power or sort of the nicotine of the cigar, and it's important to mark that down. The scent of the smoke in the room, or the room aroma, is also another thing to mark down. It's important, of course, for those around you, but it also lends a great amount of the taste of the cigar in the cigar smoking experience. And when you're indoors, it's much easier to perceive the room aroma. But when you're outdoors, the same thing can be done. Often by wafting the air or doing something like that, you'll be able to sort of perceive the scent of the smoke outside of your mouth. It's important to do this because sometimes the scent of the smoke outside of your mouth can be markedly different from the taste. One other thing that you might want to mark down is the heat of the smoke. Now, you can control the heat of the cigar. Typically, what you want to do is keep the cigar cool. And one classic way of doing that is to just slow down your smoking if the cigar gets hot. This will affect both the heat to the touch of the cigar on the outside, as well as the heat of the smoke once it's inside your mouth. If the smoke gets too hot when it's inside your mouth, you'll lose the flavors of the tobacco. What will actually happen is that you will only be able to perceive very vegetal tastes on your tongue. This is not desirable, and so if you do start to perceive that, it's useful to slow down the smoking. The draw of the cigar may improve or become worse as you smoke the cigar. So also make a note as you smoke the cigar if perhaps the smoking gets easier, which is the most common, or if it gets more difficult, which is quite a bit less common. The finish is a term that's used, it's taken from the wine world. The finish is the taste that's left in your mouth once you've expelled the smoke from your mouth. Now this finish can last on your tongue for quite some time, or it can disappear immediately. So note how long the finish lasts, and again, what sort of tastes you perceive in the finish of the cigar. And then once you've gotten to the end and noted all these things, mark down anything else that you find interesting. The ICRS focuses on the taste of the cigar because that's what people have most commonly identified as being the most important element of cigar smoking. But there are other things which may be of importance. For example, how the cigar ashes. Is the ash gray, white? Is it striped? Is it does it flake off? These are all things that people do pay attention to, though they're not related to taste. Once you've marked down anything else, sometimes I like to mark down too in what situation I enjoyed the cigar. So for example, if I was on a beach, in a beautiful surrounding, having a nice drink with good friends, that would be something that I would mark down, not necessarily because it's useful for other cigar smokers, but because it's just a nice way to recall the cigar and the cigar smoking experience. Once you've recorded all these things, and hopefully enjoyed smoking the cigar, you will be at the end of the ICRS, and it'll be time to come up with your rating.